Wake by Lisa McMann. 6 minutes. December 9th, 2005, 12:55 p.m. Janie Hannigan's math book slips from her fingers. She grips the end of the table in the school library. Everything goes black and silent. She sighs and rests her head on the table. Tries to pull herself out of it, but fails miserably. She's too tired today, too hungry. But she really doesn't have time for this. And then, she's sitting in the bleachers in the football stadium, blinking under the lights, silent among the roars of the crowd. She glances at the people sitting in the bleachers around her, fellow classmates and parents, as she tries to spot the dreamer. She can tell this dreamer is afraid, but where is he? And then she looks to the football field, finds him, rolls her eyes. It's Luke Drake, no question about it. He is, after all, the only naked player on the field for the homecoming game. Nobody seems to notice or care except him. The ball is snapped, and the lines collide. But Luke is covering himself with his hands, hopping from one foot to the other. She can feel his panic increasing. Janie's fingers tingle and go numb. Luke looks over at Jamie, eyes pleading, as the football moves towards him, a bullet in slow motion. "Help me," he says. She thinks about helping him. Wonders what it would take to change the course of Luke's dream. She even considers that a boost of confidence to the star receiver the day before the big game could put Field Ridge High in the running for regional Class A championship. But Luke's really a jerk. He won't appreciate it. So she resigns herself to watching the debacle. She wonders if he'll choose pride or glory. He's not as big as he thinks he is. That's for damn sure. Football nearly reaches Luke when the dream starts over again. Oh, get on with it already, Janie thinks. She concentrates in her seat on the bleachers and slowly manages to stand. She tries to walk back under the bleachers for the rest of the dream so she doesn't have to watch. And surprisingly, this time she is able to. That's a bonus. 1:01 p.m. Jamie's mind catapults back inside her body, still sitting at her usual remote corner table in the library. She flexes her fingers painfully, lifts her head, and when her sight returns, she scours the library. She spies the culprit at the table about 15 feet away. He's awake now, rubbing his eyes and grinning sheepishly, as the two other football players stand around him laughing. Shoving him, whapping him on the head. Janie shakes her head to clear it, and she lifts her math book, which sits open and face down on the table where she dropped it. Under it, she finds a fun-sized Snicker bar. She smiles to herself and peers to the left between the rows of bookshelves, but no one is there for her to thank. Where it begins. Evening, December 23rd, 1996. Janie Hannigan is 8. She wears a thin, faded red print dress with 2 short sleeves, off-white tights with a sag between her thighs, gray moon boots, and a brown nappy coat which has 2 missing buttons. Her long, dirty blonde hair stands up with static. She rides on an Amtrak train with her mother from their home in Field Ridge, Michigan, to Chicago to visit her grandmother. Mother reads the Globe across from her. There is a picture on the cover of an enormous man wearing a powder blue tuxedo. Janie rests her head against the window, watching her breath make a cloud on it. The cloudburst blurs Janie's vision so slowly that she doesn't realize what is happening. She floats in the fog for a moment, and then she is in a large room, sitting at a conference table with 5 men and 3 women. At the front of the room is a tall, balding man with a briefcase. He stands in his underwear giving a presentation, and he is flustered. He tries to speak, but he can't get his mouth around the words. The other adults are all wearing crisp suits. They laugh and point to the bald man in his underwear. The bald man looks at Jamie, and then he looks at the people who are laughing at him. His face crumples in defeat. He holds his briefcase in front of his privates, and that makes the others laugh harder. He runs to the door and out of the conference room, but the handle is slippery. Something slimy drips from it. He can't open the door. It squeaks and rattles loudly in his hand, and the people at the table double over. The man's underwear is grayish-white, sagging. He turns to Janie again with a look of panic and pleading. Janie doesn't know what to do. She freezes. The train's brakes whine. The scene grows cloudy, and is lost in the fog. Janie! Janie's mother is leaning toward Janie. Her breath smells like gin, and her straggly hair falls over one of her eyes. Janie, I said maybe Grandma will take you to that fancy doll store. I told you you'd be excited. I thought you'd be excited about that, but I guess not. Janie's mother sips from a flask in her ratty old purse. Janie focuses on her mother and smiles. That sounds fun, she says, even though she doesn't like dolls. She'd rather have new tights. She wriggles on the seat, trying to adjust them. The crotch stretches tight at mid-thigh. She thinks about the bald man and scrunches her eyes. Weird. When the train stops, they take their bags and step into the aisle. In front of Janie's mother, a disheveled bald businessman emerges from his compartment. He wipes his face with a handkerchief. Janie stares at him. Her jaw drops. Whoa, she whispers. The man gives her a bland look when he sees her staring and turns to exit the train. December 6, 1999, 3:05 p.m. Janie sprints to catch the bus after her first day of 6th grade. Melinda Jeffers, one of the Fieldridge North Side girls, sticks her foot out, sending Janie sprawling into the gravel. Melinda laughs all the way to her mother's shiny red Jeep Cherokee. Janie fights back the urge to cry and dusts herself off. She climbs on the bus and flops in the front seat, and looks at the dirt and blood on the palms of her hand, and the rip in the knee of her already well-worn pants. 6th grade makes her throat hurt. She leans her head against the window. When she gets home, Janie walks past her mother, who is on the couch watching Guiding Light and drinking from a clear glass bottle. Janie washes her stinging hands carefully and dries them, and sits down next to her mother, hoping she'll notice, hoping she'll say something. But Janie's mother is asleep now. Her mouth is open. She snores slightly. The bottle tips in her hand. Janie sighs and sets the bottle on the beat-up coffee table and starts her homework. Halfway through her math homework, the room turns black. Janie is rushed into a bright tunnel, like a multicolored kaleidoscope. There's no floor, and Janie is floating while the wall spins around her. It makes her feel like throwing up. Next to Janie is the tunnel. In the tunnel is her mother, and a man who looks like a blonde Jesus Christ. The man and Janie's mother are holding hands and flying. They look happy. Janie yells, but no sound comes out. She wants it to stop. She feels the pencil fall from her fingers, feels her body slump to the arm of the couch, tries to sit up. But with all the whirling colors around her, she can't tell which way is upright. She overcompensates and falls the other way and onto her mother. The colors stop and everything goes black. Janie hears her mother grumbling, feels her shove. Slowly the room comes into focus again, and Janie's mother slaps Janie in the face. Get off of me, her mother says. What the hell is wrong with you? Janie sits up and looks at her mother. Her stomach churns, and she feels dizzy with the colors. I feel sick, she whispers, and then stands up and stumbles into the bathroom to vomit. When she peers out, pale and shaky, her mother is gone from the couch, retired to her bedroom. Thank God, Jamie thinks. She splashes cold water on her face. January 1st, 2001, 7:29 a.m. The U-Haul truck pulls up next door. A man, a woman, and a girl Janie's age climb out and sink into the snow-covered driveway. Janie watches them from her bedroom window. The girl is dark-haired and pretty. Janie wonders if she'll be snooty like the other girls who called Janie white trash at school. Maybe since this new girl lives next door to Jamie on the wrong side of town, they'll call her white trash too. But she's really pretty enough to make a difference. Janie dresses hurriedly and puts on her boots and coat, and marches next door to have her first chance to get to the girl before the Northsiders get to her. Janie's desperate for a friend. You guys want some help? Janie asks in a voice more confident than she feels. The girl stops in her tracks. A smile deepens the dimples in her cheeks, and she tilts her head to the side. Hi, she says. I'm Carrie Brandt. Carrie's eyes sparkle. Janie's heart leaps.